Hello, my name is Bentham and welcome to Factorio Tips, where I give you various bits of handy information on how best to run your factories in Factorio. And what we're going to talk about today is radars. So we have one right here. Let's plonk it down. There it is with its lovely 0.10 art, which is much better than the previous. And the way this works is it scans the area around you. It's pretty simple, really. The world is divided up into chunks, and each chunk contains 32 by 32 squares, so it's I think it's 1024. And if I go into the map, zoom in a bit, you see that around me right now I have this square, and this square is 5 by 5 chunks, and this is the amount of the world that you can see just normally, you yourself. The radar is off at the moment, so that this is all me. If I run over here, about this far should do, then zoom out, you can see it's now extended, but what will now happen is this will fade away, this line here. And that's a line of 5. Oh, and then this one as well. I moved a bit further than I thought. And basically, whichever chunk you inhabit, you will be able to see, of course, that chunk, and then all chunks in a 5 by 5 around that one. And that's basically how sight works on the map. And as you can see, there's some biter bases here, and within this line, I can see all of these biters milling about and everything. And outside of the line, they are not moving. And basically, they're currently in the position that they were last seen in. So maybe these biters aren't here. Maybe all of these biters have moved here and I'm watching them now. Or maybe, since I looked there, a bunch more biters have arrived there and there's actually a lot more and things like that. And you want to know this information, really, so that's what you use radars for. So radars have two purposes. First of all, they expand what you can see of the map. So you can see we have darkness here, but that doesn't mean the world isn't here. The world is infinite in this particular map, so the initial purpose of radars is to scan the unknown lands and map the world beyond what you're aware of, and this is how you'll start using them. And then once they've done that, they will, and the way it works is it takes a certain amount of time, and I'll show you later, and after that certain amount of time this new square will become visible, and then from there you'll whatever was seen at that particular time will stay there, and the visibility will fade, and then it will just become dark. So basically the square will be like one of these for a short time and then fade away because it's finished scanning it. And then once the radar is finished doing that, it will scan all squares again. So once it's scanned the entire area that it can, which I'll explain later, it will then scan again. So it will go through all of the places that it's previously scanned, from the oldest scanned to the newest scanned, and it will scan all of them again. So the second function is to see what is immediately around it, similar to the player, but without you needing to be there. So you can see we have a radar station over here. What I'm now going to do is go visit that. So I'll just run over here, and let's just deconstruct this. Hop inside and off I go. And it's just a little bit over here in the middle of some trees. I'll try not to crash my car into anything. So here it is. Here is my radar station. So you can see the radar spinning around, and if we look at it, you can see the sector scanning progress is increasing, and also you can see the electricity as well, which is almost full but not quite. So this is my radar station setup. Now, basically the thing is, because a radar needs power, but it needs a lot of power, and it's difficult to send power over long distances. You may want to be scanning somewhere a very long way away. So the setup that I use is sort of, this is what I consider to be the basic model. Essentially, you have your radar, and then you have an electric pole so that electricity can be transferred, and you have 5 solar panels. And these 5 solar panels are enough to almost, but not fully, power the entire radar. Now you can see right now that the power is dropping, and that is because night is falling. So, a bit of auto-saving there. So as night falls, the radar will slow down and eventually stop when night fully falls. And this is the problem with the design. So it's because it's solar powered. When there is no sun, there is no scanning. So I'll just zoom out a bit, and you can see I've got this whole network here. And at the moment they're all active and they're all scanning and everything. But in a minute you will start to see that they will begin to fail because, well, they're constantly renewing their scanning, but eventually it will fade because they're no longer being powered enough. And we'll begin to see that any moment now when it eventually happens. And let's go back to this one. See, look, it's going really slow now. The electricity is getting very low, and it's going to get to a point where the rescanning is not enough anymore. Oh, there, you start to see they're starting to fade before they do a rescan. and stuff like that. They're starting to flicker and die. And then eventually it will get so dark that they no longer scan. And there they go, they're all off now. And it all fades away. So that's a problem with this system. You have it set up like this, and it will do plenty of scanning in the day, but at night it will switch off. So that's a problem with it. But you can fix that. You can put in accumulators, but of course you will need extra solar panels for that. So if you wanted to put accumulators on this, we would need 5, probably 6 new solar panels. And this would mean that it's generating double the power it would need to actually power this. Well, actually, maybe you wouldn't need a full 6, because night is shorter than day. But you would need enough to generate the extra power to charge at some accumulators, which could then run down and power the radar overnight. I don't bother with that, because I don't think it's that important, really. It's just a case of being able to see things a lot of the time. So, when you can see it's starting to turn again. And if we go back now, you can see, there's a couple that have flickered into life. And here we go, the network's switching back on again. They're all coming back online and scanning the areas. And I've got to say, it looks pretty cool, doesn't it? I mean, it's worth having them solar powered to get to see them switching on and off like this. So you may notice they're positioned in very much a grid pattern, because there is a certain distance that they cover, of course. So let's zoom in a bit. You can see, let's have a look at this one. So you might have noticed earlier when I was looking at what I could see, that it was smaller than this. So I could see a 5x5 grid around the chunk that I was occupying. Radars can see a 7x7 grid, so it's a bit bigger. And you can position them so that the 7x7 grid squares match up and tessellate, so that it all goes together and you have a complete picture of very large areas. Now let's go to the scanning thing. So the scanning area of a radar is 14 chunks in any direction. So that means that when they have finished scanning, you will be able to see a 29 by 29 chunk area, and you can sort of see it outlined here. So it's this area here. This is the area that this radar can see. It's a 29 by 29 chunk area. I don't know how many squares that is, so you'll have to ask somebody else. It's pretty simple. Just do 32 times 29 and you'll get it. So now you can probably see that around the radars there's little lights flashing on. Individual chunks are flashing into life, and the reason for this is that they are being scanned. So I said before that the rescanning happens. Once they finish scanning the whole area, they'll scan all of the chunks again. So what's happening right now is the rescanning of chunks, and what this means is that you can see any changes that have happened in those areas since the last scan. So say that some biters had turned up in this chunk here, a new biter base had formed. You wouldn't know about it at first, but you'd think that there wasn't one because the area's been scanned, and you might stumble into there and encounter it and die because biters. But occasionally they'll be rescanned, so eventually when the radar has managed to scan the entire area, we'll zoom out a bit there, it will eventually scan the chunk again, and then the biter base will come into view. So that's how that works. So now I'm going to show you how to properly position your radar stations so that they fit together nicely. And that's going to be my main tip for today, as well as the setup. Well, one more thing actually, before I do go, there's a couple of other ways to do it. You can add in extra solar panels, you can add in accumulators, but what you can also do if you have a lot of biter attacks is you can put in defenses. So we can stick some turrets down here, and you may want to do this if you have a lot of biter problems, because biters really like to destroy radars. Even on this map where biters basically don't bother me anymore, I will occasionally get an alarm set off because biters have run into one of my bases, destroyed the radar and left. The radar is all that they care about. They don't bother about the solar panels or any other things. So if you want some defenses, you could just stick down some turrets like that, and then you could just run around and put some walls in. You can do this any way you want, really. And the only things I would say is make sure to be using these kinds of gun turrets, the manual ones, well, whatever you call the conventional ones, rather than laser turrets, because laser turrets use power, and of course you've got an independent power system here, so it's not got a lot of big it's not got a big accumulator network or any sort of stuff like that to use in case there's a power shortage. And also, if you used laser turrets without the accumulators at all, then they would be switched off at night, which is not good, because you'd have an alarm go off and you're like, well, I have no idea what's going on because the radar systems are off and all the lasers are shut down as well. So somewhere one of my bases is being attacked and I'm just going to have to deal with that. So anyway, there's various ways that you can set things up like that. It's just the basic structure is to set up Well, we'll set it up when we get there, actually. So let's go. We just set up a radar and so on. So running over here, we want to get our positioning right. So I'm just going to go straight along from that station and forge my way through the forest a bit. Okay, we're going to have to abandon the car now and keep moving if it won't auto-save while we're trying to do that. So we'll get over here, and now I'm going to check the map. So, I've actually gone further than I need to, so let's go back a bit. Let's go to here and see how this is. Not quite, a little bit further. So actually we'd gone far enough in the car. There we go. Okay, this is the position that we want. So once this has faded away, we have our 5x5 grid again. And you may notice that we are one chunk away from what this radar can see. And remember that a radar can see 7 chunks around it while you can see 5. So if you want to get the squares to line up, you need to be able to see a 5x5 square within a dark band of chunks, just a single chunk wide band around it. And that means that when you place the radar down, it will fit in with the layout of the other radars. So I plunked it down, and then we'll put down our electric pole, and then once we clear out some trees here, you can see it's already starting to turn with one solar panel, and we'll keep putting down more of them like this. Clear out these two, and then like this and this. And of course the reason that we have 5 is because it pretty much fully powers the radar when it is the middle of the day. Of course when it is night it does not, and you're able to add in a 6th if you want, just so that it is fully powered during the day and also goes a bit longer without powering down at night. So you can see we now have a 7x7 grid around us, which perfectly lines up with the 7x7 grid created by this radar. And that's how you set up a super efficient radar system that can see clearly all of the squares that you want to cover. So you don't have any gaps or anything like that, and you've not got any wasted space either. So here we go. As night falls, you can see they're all starting to shut down for the night. And there we go, and you can see that now the band around us is disappearing, because of course we can always see this. It's just, and it was only the radar that was seeing out there. And there we go. You can see I've got one radar down there that's connected up to my base, so of course that is always on. And you may want to connect the radars immediately around your base to your power grid, so that they are always running and can warn you of any impending biter attacks. So anyway, that's pretty much it for today's Factorio tip, how to put radars together in a super efficient and quite nice looking way, and to make the maximum use of them. Of course, what you can also do is have multiple radars in one location, and all that will do is increase the rescanning rate, meaning that you'll get quicker updates on new biter bases. And I believe that is pretty much it for radar information. So, I shall say goodbye, thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.